Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Brenna, and I'm a training specialist here at Genially, the all-in-one online tool for creating all kinds of interactive content in a fast and easy way. Welcome to this webinar, in which we have the pleasure of listening to our special guest, William Arruda, speak to us about personal branding. More specifically, he'll tell us how to translate our brand into the digital world, which, of course, we know is a must-have in the current times. Now, I'll also be showing you how to create a personal branding infographic with Genially in just 10 minutes, so stay tuned for that. Now, we've recorded this webinar in advance, but both William and I are live in the chat interacting with you all. So if you have questions during the webinar, please put them there and we will be sure to respond to you. Now, to introduce William a bit, William Arruda is a dynamic motivational speaker and the world's leading authority on the topic of personal branding. His live and virtual keynotes, learning experiences, and programs have inspired millions. He is the best-selling author of 3 books, including his latest, Digital You, about personal branding in the virtual age. And he is a senior contributor to Forbes. His column features over 500 articles and has received over 15 million views. He's been featured on publications like Time Magazine, The Wall Street Journal, The Atlantic, and the list goes on. So we are honored to have you here, William. Thank you.
Oh, Brenna, I am thrilled to be here. We are going to have a really fun ride, so everyone get ready.
So let's get started. And welcome to Digital You, where you're going to learn how to translate the real world you for the virtual world. Our lives have become digital, in fact, a lot faster than any of us thought. When I wrote the book, Digital You, I was really excited about this time in the future when our lives would move online. I had no idea that 4 months after writing the book, our lives would move online. So everything's happening right now in a way where your virtual brand precedes your real world brand, and it's become much more important for delivering a powerful first impression and for being able to build relationships. So that's what we're going to focus on today, and we're going to focus specifically on how you can use visuals to make that happen. But let me tell you a little bit about what Digital You is. Digital You is really 4 different steps. The first step is real you. You need to know who you are in the real world before you start building your online brand. This is the most important step in the process, and we'll talk about what you need to know to do that before you translate your brand for the virtual world. And that's what you do in Virtual You, so that the bits and bytes you and the flesh and bones you are identical. Then you amplify what you're using words to communicate with images, and that's what we talk about in Virtual You. And then ultimately you can build Social You. Social You is all about building your brand so that more and more people know who you are and the value that you deliver. Today we're going to focus on the first 3 of these 4 elements. Before we jump into that though, I want to talk to you a little bit about a model that I created that seems to be, of all the things that I've created in my 20 years in personal branding, this is the thing that most people really get, and they understand the power of branding with this model. So let me just show it to you. It's really that branding is a 3-phase process. The first phase, you're not a brand at all. You're really a commodity. You're able to tick the box next to everything that's required to do your job but there's nothing special or unique that you add. So essentially, you're one of many people who are competent to do that. Now, I'm sure none of you on the line are there. This second place is a good phase to be in. It's called the distinguished phase, because not only do you offer what's required, there's something additional, something compelling, something interesting, something differentiated that you bring to the table that helps you start to build a fan club. People really like what you do or how you do it. They're eager to connect with you, and they become your fans. And that's a great place to be. Not as great as being in this third phase, which we call demanded. And in the demanded phase, what happens is you start to attract opportunities because those fans become promoters. You have a full-time sales force touting how absolutely amazing you are, so that more and more people start to become part of your fan club. And that's what I hope for all of you. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the things you need to do to really start to move through these phases of the personal branding continuum, as I call it. So let's jump into Real You. And remember, this is the most important part of the process. If you don't know what your brand is about, then all the brand building online is not going to help you. Your brand is your promise. In fact, it's your unique promise of value. Unique because it separates you from everyone else who does what you do. It's a promise because you commit to delivering it, and you deliver it every single day. And it has value to the people who are making decisions about you. Personal branding is not about being famous, it's about being selectively famous. So knowing the people you need to influence so that you can achieve your goals and deliver great value. So we'll talk a little bit about your unique promise of value as we move forward. What I want to do is show you what you need to do to unearth the authentic brand called you. And there are really two things you need to be working on. One is introspection. Ask yourself a lot of questions. Who am I? What's important to me? Where do I want to go? What separates me from others, and so forth. And the second is input. You need to know what other people think about you, because you could walk around all day thinking you're the most strategic person on the planet, but if other people don't see you as strategic, you don't own that brand attribute. So this input phase helps you validate all of your self-perception. When it comes to self-perception, you're going to be looking at yourself and the 6 drivers of your personal brand. So my company, Career Blast, we've come up with this model that shows that we really have 6 things that we need to unearth as we're starting to discover our brand. Your passions, your superpowers, your values, your differentiators, your purpose, and your goals. And we're going to cover a couple of these as we move forward. But before we do, I want to talk about something that you need to eliminate from your vocabulary and your mindset. And it happens to be a 4-letter word that begins with F. So I'd love for you to guess. You can, and I know you're all really polite, so you can guess in the chat what this word might be. It's lethal to your career. And sometimes people come up with words like fail, fear, or fake. This word is more lethal to your career, in fact, and sadly it's because we've been programmed to become this. And the word is fine, right? No one gets excited about things in life that are fine, right? When there's something that's amazing, that's exceptional, we tell everyone about it. But if it's just fine, and with the word fine, I want you to think of all of the synonyms: average, adequate, okay, acceptable, right? Do you want people to describe your work that way? Probably not. The problem is that we have led to believe that fine is actually good, because we were taught that the path to success is paved with fixing weaknesses. If I could just fix everything that's wrong with me, boy, I'd be a wild success, right? And we're taught this because our teachers in school tell us this, our first manager when we got into the workforce tells us this, you know, if you were a little bit better at this, it would be great. And so we start to believe this, but in fact, it's the opposite of what strong brands do. What strong brands do is they take the things that they are exceptional at, that they're great at, and they maximize it. They use it every day, they make it visible to everyone else, and they become known by it, right? So what you want to do is ask yourself this one question. Whenever someone identifies a weakness in you, or maybe you identify it in yourself, you're going to ask yourself this question: will this weakness get in the way of my success? And if the answer is yes, then you do need to become at least fine at it, right? Just to tick it off the box. But guess what? If the answer is no, and often it's no, what you need to do is ignore it and turn your attention to the things that you do really well. And this is one of the drivers of your personal brand. And this driver is your superpowers, right? The things that you do incredibly well. Maybe you don't even give yourself credit for these things because they come really easily to you, right? You didn't have to spend 4 years in college to learn this because you're just naturally great at it. When you can take those things that you're really, really good at and make them visible, you can integrate them into what you do, people start to get excited about you. So what I want to do is I want to give you a tool that will help you unearth your superpowers. So my co-founder and I, Ora, we created something for a company called Career Blast, and we actually pulled a piece of it out where you can just uncover your superpowers. And here's all you need to do. If you're based in the US, or you can text anywhere without it costing you anything, you can use this QR code and you'll be able to do this directly on your phone. It's super fun. It's a video-fueled exploration of your superpowers. If you have a texting plan that costs you money, or you're based outside the US, which likely means that a texting plan will cost you money, you can do this using Microsoft Teams. And you can just go to this web address. And what you will do is you'll interact with a couple of videos. They will ask you some powerful questions, and it will help you unearth your superpowers. And once you know your superpowers, guess what happens? People start using superlatives to describe you: best, outstanding, exceptional, extraordinary. So the message here is, don't be fine, right? You don't want to fix weaknesses. Don't be fine, be extraordinary. And the way to be extraordinary is by living your superpowers every day. All right, let's look at another driver. I told you we'd cover a couple. This one is differentiators, and differentiators is so important because that's what helps us make decisions in life, right? When you're going down the grocery aisle, you're gonna choose a cereal. Which one are you gonna choose? These differentiators help us make those decisions. It's the same with us as people, right? People need to know when they should choose you. So you need to know what helps you stand out from everyone else, right? What is your differentiation, and how do you make that differentiation visible to the people you're looking to influence, right? The challenge is, whatever you do, there are other people who do what you do. And so we're in this sea of people who are competent at whatever our area of expertise is, right? The question is, what makes it so that you stand out, right? What would make it so that you're like this and people start coming to you because you have this visibility, and they really want to be able to work with you? Or even like this, right? Where you become the person who is known by what you do. What you need to do is amplify your differentiators, because this is what's going to get people excited about you. So it's really important that you think about what sets me apart from everyone else who does what I do. Now, I told you need to validate. Personal branding is not me. It's not you telling the world how great you are. Your brand lives in the hearts and minds of those who know you. So you need to ask yourself the question, what do people think about me, right? And you need to validate all of that self-reflection with their input. So what words would people use to describe you? Do you know? Would everyone use the same words, right? Your friends and family and your colleagues, would they all be using the same words, or would they use different words? And would they use the words that you would want them to use, the words that you would use to describe yourself? Chances are you don't know the answer to that, because we don't go around asking people what they think of us, right? We're doers, we're making things happen. Yet, getting feedback from the outside is absolutely critical if you want to build your brand, because you do need to validate all of that self-reflection. So spend some time understanding what people think about you and feed that into what you learn about yourself, so that you can distill it into your unique promise of value or your personal brand. Once you do that, guess what? Then it's time to translate this for the virtual world. And it really is a translation process. You want to make sure that if somebody meets you online, they're meeting the same person, so that it's the same you in the virtual world as if you were standing in front of them in their office. And so how do you make that happen? That's a little bit challenging, right? Because we're limited in this two-dimensional world online. We're way more animated and dynamic and compelling when we're connected to people in person. So you need to be really deliberate in this translation process of the real to virtual, right? That's the key. Here's what we know. When somebody wants to learn about you, they are going to go online, they're going to put your name into Google, and whatever shows up, that is who you are, right? So, and by the way, it's all page one, because most people don't go beyond page one in a Google search. So whatever your page one results are, that's who you are. The question is that really who you are, right? And this is really important because of a few things. And the first thing I want to tell you about is this concept called digital first. There's a gentleman in Montreal, his name is Mitch Joel. He wrote a book called Control Alt Delete, and in it he talks about how today digital precedes real. So if your first impression is being formed online, you better make sure it is totally in line with who you are. And the reason is because of two cognitive biases we have. The first is primacy. Primacy means we believe the first thing we learn. So if somebody doesn't know about you, they put your name into Google, whatever shows up, that is who you are. So really important that you make sure that it is who you are, otherwise you're creating a false first impression. Now, when you combine primacy with this other cognitive bias called anchoring, that's where the trouble begins, because anchoring means once we form a first impression, guess what? We don't want to change our minds. So there's good news in this, and here's the good news. Often when people are trying to check you out in a professional capacity, they'll skip Google altogether and go to LinkedIn, right? Because that's the professional social media network. Great. Even if they start at Google, your LinkedIn profile is going to show up in one of the top 3 spots. And we know that those spots get 62% of all the clicks. So they're going to end up at LinkedIn. This is unbelievably powerful, valuable, good news, because it means if you just focus on getting your LinkedIn profile right, then you can make a first impression that is aligned with who you are in the real world. So really important that you focus your attention on LinkedIn, right? At least as far as creating a professional first impression. But when it comes to LinkedIn, a lot of us have a mindset that is off. And the reason is we have the mindset from 2003 when LinkedIn launched. And that was when LinkedIn pretty much was the place you go to look for a job and have an e-resume, right? That is not the case today. So I need you to make a mindset shift. If you are thinking about LinkedIn as the place you go when you're looking for a job, you're living in 2003, the year LinkedIn launched. That means the Concorde is still flying. It means Friends is the #1 TV show, right? I don't think you want to be living in 2003. So let's come to 2021 and talk about the elements of LinkedIn you need to focus on. And there are 3 that are critical to delivering your first impression: your headline, your headshot, and your about. And I want to cover 2 of them right here today. So let's talk about your about first. Your about will be the most read version of your bio. And to create a powerful about for LinkedIn, you need to focus on 3 areas. First, an engaging entry. Guess what? When somebody goes to LinkedIn, they don't see your entire bio or your entire about. They just see the first 2 or 3 lines. People have to click see more to get the rest of it. So you need to start with an engaging entry. This means telling me something really compelling or exciting or interesting or intriguing or provocative so that I will click see more. So don't repeat what you put in your headline, right? Your headline creates relevance. This has to create magnetism. It has to excite people about you. Then you weave together your story, all of the elements that make you credible, right? Your accolades and your awards and your accomplishments and your degrees, with all the things that make you likable, right? Your passions and your values and what you do outside of work. And when you weave this together into a story, you tell this complete story of the brand called you. And then if you feel like this sounds like a lot of me, you can add a little bit of how you work with your team, how you work with clients, so that people get a feel for how you build relationships and connect with other people. So really important, this will be the most read version of your bio. Spend a lot of time building a powerful, authentic, compelling, and differentiated about, right? All of those 6 drivers, all of that has to be woven into this incredible story about you. Then it's time to think about your headshot. Because the web is a weird place, right? Your headshot makes you real, and you want to make sure that you have a really exciting, engaging headshot. Note with all these headshots how much of the space is their face. And that's important because when someone's looking at your profile, your head is the size of a button. So you want to make sure that you are taking up most of the space. 60 to 80% of the frame should be your face. You need to be facing forward so that you're looking into the eyes of the people who are checking you out, and you need to be smiling, right? A smile is the universal welcome symbol. So focus on LinkedIn and you'll deliver a powerful first impression. Now, do you want to measure your LinkedIn profile based on how likable and credible it is? I have a tool for you. So we created a tool at Career Blast called the LinkedIn Profile Type Indicator, and here's what it does. It allows you to answer some questions by looking at your profile and making some honest decisions, right? And it will reveal for you where you show up in likability and credibility. In fact, you'll show up in a 4-box model. Everyone loves a 4-box model, right? And you'll see, do I have the right amount of likability and credibility to deliver a great first impression? So you can check this out, obviously with the QR code, or you can go to that web address. Okay, this takes us to the third element, which is visual you. And visual you is important because, let's face it, words aren't that exciting. Visuals get us really intrigued and interested, right? With words, you don't have a lot, right? 26 letters of the English alphabet, 27 letters of the Spanish alphabet. There are thousands of characters in Chinese, but the question is, how exciting are they? Certainly not as exciting as images and videos and infographics and portfolios and PDFs that weave together all kinds of multimedia. That's what's going to get people excited about you. In fact, the most powerful way to communicate is with video. There's a gentleman at Forrester who did some research and determined that 1 minute of video is worth 1.8 million words. So Zoom meetings, that's video. Whatever kind of thought leadership you want to share online, that's video. And it's a great way to be able to connect with people because words, 7% of a communication, the rest is tone of voice, intonation, body language, and even what's behind you, right? So you have a way to really influence and engage with people that's powerful. So visuals are so important to your brand. When Genially reached out to me, I was like, wow, I love what you're doing. It's just incredible, and it is so essential for what's happening in this new all virtual, all the time world. And we started to connect, and that's how we're doing this together today. And Brenna said, you know what? I can demonstrate how to do a personal branding infographic really quickly using Genially. So I got excited about that, and I said, let's do it. So let me turn this over to Brenna, who's going to show you how to make that happen. So Brenna, take it away.
Thank you so much, William, for sharing that information. That was great. Now, as William said, in order to show you how you can use Genially to make these creations, interactive creations, in an easy and intuitive way, we're going to jump into our demo portion. So I'm going to share my screen. For those of you who haven't yet used Genially, you can create an account for free and get started right away. When you log onto your account, you'll access the creation panel where you can begin creating. You'll see that there are numerous categories of templates to choose from, and you can make anything from presentations to microsites, infographics. And if you head to the More category, you'll see that there's a personal branding subcategory where you can find interactive resumes, portfolios, digital business cards, etc. So that should be really useful to you as well. Now, as we saw in the examples, there are so many things that we can create to show our brand in the digital world and so that we can share our knowledge as thought leaders. So for example, let's go to the infographics category where we can create an eye-catching infographic to share our knowledge on social media or on our blog or our website. Now, to find a template that you want, you can simply scroll through them until you find something that catches your eye based on the structure or based on the aesthetic that it has. You can also search using keywords. So we're actually going to use this I list template. Now notice that you can preview the template before you select it, and you can see what kind of animation, interactivity it includes. You can also personalize it by selecting a different palette. So for example, this kind of yellow, dark gray fits better with my theme. Now I'm going to click on use this template, and we will open the editor. And this is where we can edit our template. Now remember, the templates can be edited down to the smallest detail, or you can stay loyal to them and just add in your own textual or visual content. Perfect. Now this is the editor. The first thing that I suggest doing is naming your creation up here on the title bar. Now this is going to make it so that you can find your creations back in your panel in the future. So as we said, we're making a personal branding infographic as a thought leader to share our knowledge. And today we are going to create that infographic on 5 sales tips. So that's what I'm going to name it. I'm also going to edit this text that comes here with the template. And I'm going to say the same thing. 5 sales tips for new sellers. Now notice that when I clicked on that text box, some options appeared here on the toolbar. These are all of the options that you have available for editing text. And the options that appear here will change depending on the type of content you have selected. So now that we're doing text, I'm going to put in my other textual content. Now, the content that I am adding to my Genially, I actually got from a thought leader. So before I'm finished, I'm definitely going to put that information so that you can see where I got that information from, and we add her. So notice I'm just clicking on each text box and I'm pasting my content to edit what comes with the template. Now this is really easy. And of course, obviously I've prepared my content in advance, so that makes our editing that much easier. Perfect. Now we have all of our text that we want to add. Now the next thing that I want to do is I want to change this image. I like the movement that the eye gives. I think it's eye-catching, it's fun, but it doesn't really fit with the aesthetic. So we can do a couple different things here. I can simply click delete and delete it and add something new from here, from the images box or from insert. Or to do something even easier, I can click on the replace option. Now, if there was any interactivity, animation applied, by clicking on that replace option, it's going to maintain that. Now notice I can add a new image from my computer, from a URL, from the resources, from Google Drive, Dropbox. Since I really like that movement, I kind of want to keep that. So I'm going to look at the GIFs. And since, we're thought leaders, we're sharing information, I'm going to search for a light bulb, and I want a transparent background to keep that same aesthetic that we have already. I'm going to select this one and click replace. So notice that I got changed to the light bulb and it kept the same size. So I'm just going to grab here at the corner, make it a little bit smaller so that it fits better. Perfect. Great. All right. Now, notice we have our 5 tips. We have our image right on this one page that we have, this infographic. However, I want to give my audience more information. I want to show that I'm a thought leader. I want them to know that I know what I'm talking about. How am I going to do that without overloading my infographic with text? Well, we are going to use interactivity. And this is one of the main pillars of Genially and really what sets Genially apart from any other content creation tool that you can use. Now, notice this button here, this interactive element, this hand icon that appears, that's the symbol for interactivity. Now it's blue because it already has interactivity applied. That's fine. We're going to edit what it comes with. I'm going to click on interactivity. And here on the side, we can see those 4 interactivity options. The first one is a tooltip. A tooltip is going to appear when you hover over an element that has it applied. And then when you take your mouse away, it disappears. A window is going to be for adding larger amounts of content. And in order to open a window, you have to click on it. Then you also have to click to make it disappear. So to provide a little bit more information about this first tip, I'm actually going to delete this text. And notice here, I can add text and format, I can add images, and I can insert videos from a URL. I'm going to insert this YouTube video, Solution Selling Tips. And that is going to be focus on making a difference. So that's going to provide my audience with more information on that. So I'm going to continue doing this. I'm going to add interactivity. Now, slow down. For this one, I'm going to add a tooltip. And here I'm simply going to add some text to provide more information. Do your research. So now we're in the middle, right? We're at our third interactive element. Let's make it a little bit more fun. So I'm actually going to erase this text. I'm going to insert an image from a URL. This is actually going to be a GIF. So remember, tip 3 was do your research. So here we have a fun GIF, do your research, still in line with our content. And then I'm also going to add a little bit more text to give some more information and some more context. Perfect. So notice that in these windows in tooltips, interactivity, we can add all kinds of content. Now the fourth one, let's provide some more information about this. Let's add some text. And then let's also add an image below, just so that you can get the feeling of all of the different possibilities. So now we're going to insert image from a URL. Perfect. And again, this is a tooltip, so don't feel limited. We're still within the amount of characters that we can have for a tooltip, and it's still going to look great. Perfect. Now, for our fifth interactive element, put yourself in your customer's shoes. I actually want to show you something a little different. Now, we've seen within tooltips and windows how we can add text, we can add images, we can add videos, but something else that we can add is external content. Anything that can be embedded from the internet with an HTML and iframe code, you can embed here in Genially. So remember, this was put yourself in your customer's shoes. So I want to embed this Genially. This is a customer profile. So how do you put yourself in your customer's shoes? Well, first you have to understand them. So in order to do that, this is another way that you can use Genially. Think about your customer, think about who they are, and then it'll be even easier for you to get in their shoes. So notice you could also embed a Twitter feed. You could embed other Geniallys, Google Maps, where to find you. The possibilities are almost endless. I'm going to make this one a window so that it's just a little bit bigger. Perfect. Okay, great. Now, if we wanted to, we could be done here. I told you this is possible in 10 minutes. But I want to do a couple more things. The first thing I want to do, I told you that the content from this infographic is from another thought leader. So of course, I want to give her credit for that. So I'm going to go to the interactive elements menu over here. And I'm going to select, let's choose this icon. Let's make it a tiny bit smaller. Perfect. Now we can easily change the color so that it better fits within the aesthetic of our design. And I'm going to select interactivity. Perfect. Now here I'm going to add a tooltip and I'm going to give credit. Content of this infographic was taken from this article from Jill Conrath. I'm going to hyperlink the article. Perfect. Now, if you want to find more information, if you want to see where I got this information from the source, you can click there. Great. Now, if we wanted to be done here, we could. One thing that we might be missing would be how your audience can contact you, right? Or who you are. So there's a lot of different ways you could do that. One could be, for example, to add some buttons down here for your Twitter and your LinkedIn. And using that same interactivity, in this case, maybe we want to use the link. We can link those buttons to our social media and have our audience taken there. Now, we're ready to publish our creation and share it. So when you're done, all you want to do is click here on All Set. If you publish public, Your creation will be indexed by search engines, so make it even easier for you to be found. You can add it to your Genially social profile. And let's do all set. And now you can either present, download, or share your creation. The easiest way to do so is copying the link. I'm actually going to copy this and put it in the chat for you all to see the finished product. If you wanted to embed your creation into your blog or your website, you can simply copy the iframe code and add that to your website really easily. No need to have a programmer to do that for you. You can send it via email, social network, or share it to Google Classrooms or Microsoft Teams. So really easy to share your creations with the world. And that's it, done. That is just an example of how you can create this amazing infographic for personal branding in just 10 minutes. Okay, so now you have an example of a personal branding infographic that you can make in Genially in just 10 minutes. Now I'm going to hand it back over to William.
So I just wanted to share with you a way that you can measure your brand. It's with the 3 C's. Clarity. Are you clear about who you are and who you're not? I use the hashtag #YouBeYou all the time. If you're always being you, you're building your brand. The second thing is consistency, right? Don't be changing when you should be a sameness. I always say I'm going to write a country music song around that. Always be you. And then constancy. Don't go into hiding. Strong brands are always visible, available, and valuable to the people who are making decisions about you. It's as simple as that. So do the 3C test and see how your brand is, and then let me know. I just want to give you my contact details. Feel free to reach out to me. This QR code goes to my LinkedIn profile if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn. Would love to stay in touch with you. And I just want to say thank you. And now we're going to go into a little bit of Q&A where we'll be able to answer the questions that came up in the chat.
Well, we have reached the end of our time together today. It's been a great session where we've learned some great tricks to translate our personal brand to the virtual world. Thank you again so much, William, for taking the time to join us today and sharing your knowledge with us.
Thank you, Brenna. Thanks to all the folks at Genially, and good luck to everyone out there who's looking to build their brand in bits and bytes.
Perfect. Thank you. And thank you to all of you who are watching us live or who are watching the recording of this webinar at a later time. We hope that you've enjoyed it. If you have any lingering questions, you can send them to us via social media. You can use the hashtag AskGenially. And we are also going to share William's social media with you in the chat, so be sure to follow him as well. If you've enjoyed this webinar and want to be kept up to date with other webinars and other content we're releasing, be sure to hit the like button and to subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so already. We'll see you next time. Bye.